Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another live stream. Thank you so much for tuning in for another show. Welcome to all of our members, subscribers, and viewers from all across the world. If you're new to this channel, I have these live streams alongside videos on a regular basis. Today, I chose to do a live stream to, of course, open the space up after the introduction and talk about the latest updates coming from Lebanon. We have very dangerous escalations, including the entry of longer range missiles from Hamas from Lebanon, who entered the battle now with Hezbollah, and dangerous talks about Israeli escalation and occupation of parts of Lebanon. So yesterday we had the Minister of Education, or the day before, he was saying that, we need to eliminate Lebanon. Lebanon will cease to exist. There's an undermining tone about Lebanon as a state now. It's no longer just Hezbollah. Of course, we know their garbage talk about, Hizbullah, like they used Hamas in Gaza to commit their heinous crimes against humanity and their barbaric acts of mass terror and genocide. But now they're not just stopping with Hezbollah. Now they're saying it's Lebanon. Firstly, Lebanon will cease to exist. We will annihilate Lebanon. Ministers in the government, that's not someone who was like an intellectual having an opinion or whatever. No, you're talking about people who run the show, who run the ideology. Like you have the ideology of Ben Gvir and Smotrich to completely ethnically cleanse the Palestinian people. You have people with this ideology and these things get implemented. You're talking about ideology that gets implemented. So today we have talks about undermining the state of Lebanon itself and the borders, because they were put in the time of Sykes-Picot between the French and the British, and then Israel extended them anyway, coming from another Israeli minister and talking about the need to have a buffer zone. And again, it all starts with a buffer zone. They wanted to do the same thing with Egypt, expel the Palestinians so that they can create a buffer zone from Sinai and then occupy the whole of Egypt. And now they want to do that with Lebanon. Although the reaction that we had from Hezbollah does not reach the level of aggression that Israel committed in Lebanon. That's if we want to call this a response, by the way, because Hezbollah are not talking now. They're not talking too much. Small statements, but they haven't elaborated that this is a response for. So this could be an escalation for the day-to-day actions, because Israel wanted to change the equation. They wanted to create a new equation where Hezbollah would just completely stop and detach from Gaza and don't talk about the supporting front garbage. I want you to be on your own, and Gaza is a separate thing. But Hezbollah told them, no, we are a supporting front, and you need to stop the war in Gaza. You need to stop the war in Gaza for us to stop our resistance attacks against you, because we're in solidarity with Gaza. That's the main thing. Now, a couple of things we heard. Number one, Hezbollah said we are now in a phase of an open account battle. They're still not calling it a war, but in effect, we are at a stage of a war now, an open war. Maybe not the greater war or the great war, but we are at war. Why? Because the intensity of the strikes, the levels of the strikes, there are certain arguments that people can make. The strikes that they carried out in Beirut, well, they were more targeted and they didn't target the whole population in Beirut, for example. They only targeted the population in other parts. Not that that's an excuse, but some analysts might say that, to say, well, it's not yet an all-out war. And judging by Hezbollah's response, they're not breaking all of the tools. However, first and foremost, we need to establish a couple of things. We had over 500 martyrs in Lebanon, almost 600 in one day yesterday, and over 1,800 wounded. Israel did not kill more than approximately 1,200 in 33 days in 2006 in the Lebanon war. So what's happening now? By their immense barbaric genocide in Gaza, they are creating a new norm. They are raising the bar. It's normal to kill 600 people a day. It's totally fine to kill 1,000 people a day. And we won't get repercussions. No one will criticize us. Talk about mainstream media or the West in general or some of the Arab states. No harsh criticisms, slight tones, let alone the abhorrent and depraved people who mock our brothers and sisters in Lebanon facing a new genocide now. So they're killing in one day half of the total number they killed throughout the whole Second Lebanese War in 2006. What does that tell you? Well, if this continues, or if it continues with the same intensity, you're talking about another Gaza. You're talking about another Gaza. And Hezbollah, on the other hand, neither Israel nor Hezbollah are calling it an open war. Israel is calling it an operation. Hezbollah is calling it a battle, the battle of an open account battle. Meaning, we haven't yet decided to take out everything. Hezbollah previously said, Muhammad Ra'ad, one of their political figures, he said, if we want, we can cover the sun ray and sunlight from on top of Israel with missiles and smoke by the level of bombardment we can. We haven't seen that yet, but what we did see is an increase. Are Hezbollah increasing the day-to-day? That this is the most interesting thing here, because Israel wanted to create a new equation and take down these day-to-day activities of Hezbollah in solidarity with Gaza as a supporting front. But now Hezbollah, 300-400 missiles, a new missile every day. Now they've introduced another missile called Fadi 3, longer range, a higher explosive warhead. Are these just the day-to-day responses? That's the thing. They haven't said this is a response to the Israeli aggression on the 23rd of September. That would be a big problem for Israel. Why? Well, because you went on this operation promising your people that I'm going on this operation to stop Hezbollah and return the people back to the north. And what I've done in effect is put 3 million Israelis in bunkers. So that's not going to happen. And they're trying really hard with Hezbollah. Hezbollah launched 400 missiles today, including the Fadi 1 missile. And I'm just going to share some of these images with you. We'll get to that shortly. This is an area in North Israel. Look at the size of this missile. You're talking about really large missiles. And these are the effects of that missile. This video was taken by an Israeli. This is the landing. And then we can see a bigger radius of explosion. You're talking about a really heavy missile. Katyushas don't do that. Their previous missiles did not do that. This level of destruction per one missile. And they're using them, and that's afterwards, and they're using them on all of the areas they've already covered before, including the new areas. This was Kiryat Shmone. Look at the smoke. Look at how many missiles. No Iron Dome, no nothing. At least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 missiles. At least 7 missiles landing. No Iron Dome, no nothing in that area, and including other parts. Now, these are Hamas members. Hamas said, we launched 40 missiles from Lebanon on North Israel, including Haifa, the Nasher area in Haifa. And Israel said, and Al-Qassam brigades confirmed that one of their leading figures in Lebanon has been assassinated by Israel earlier on today. This is not new. Hamas operate in Lebanon. They carried out missile attacks on Israel from Lebanon. As a matter of fact, there was a reported ground invasion. There was a reported ground invasion by the PIJ and potentially Al-Qassam as well. That was early in the war to Israeli territory in the northern parts alongside the Lebanese borders. Now their missiles are reaching Haifa. What does that mean? They are expanding at the same level of Hezbollah and joining the Lebanon battle, the battle to defend Lebanon, Hamas, from Beirut and from South Lebanon, from all across Lebanon, and stand side by side with Hezbollah, even when it comes to the range of the cover. Now, of course, they operate hand in hand. Everything is coordinated, and there are other resistance movements in Lebanon who are fighting, but Hezbollah is, of course, leading them. And we have other fighters in the south as well. But the fact that Hamas is declaring that they are launching missiles at this capacity and this range on Israel is a very important message to Israel. Don't forget, they're still annihilating Israel in Rafah. Today, we even had more resistance from them in Rafah, targeting the Israeli occupation forces. Meaning, you're not dismantling us in Gaza, and you're expanding our operations to Lebanon. This is what you got. And this is the problem that Israel does not comprehend. They constantly want the use of force. We want to use force against them. We need to eliminate them. Violence, blood, killing, oppression, expulsion. And they never addressed the core root cause of the problem, which is occupation, injustice, oppression, inequality. And we say this many times, you want to defeat Hamas? Get rid of all of the reasons they base their fighting and resistance to you upon. Resistance is a symptom, is an antidote to a problem, to a virus, a disease, call it whatever you like. Get rid of that disease. In this case, the disease is Zionism and what it has. We haven't seen a version of Zionism yet that is willing to live peacefully and with equal rights with the Palestinian people. If we had that, I don't think Hamas would have a problem. But the fact that they are only choosing the path of violence with them breeds more violence and more resistance and expansion of the operations. And this battle now is a very big indication and proof that that's only what's been happening because of continued Israeli inequality, oppression, aggression, genocides, and barbarism against the Palestinian people and against other nations surrounding them too. The days that we're living now are unprecedented. We haven't seen that before. What? Previous wars in Gaza, we didn't have this level of participation, let alone any participation. Now you have Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, Yemen, even Iran, let alone, of course, the global campaign supporting the Palestinian people. So they're shooting themselves in the foot. They're not addressing the root causes of the problem, and they are only insisting on dealing with everything in violence. And Hamas are telling them, okay, well, we're not just in Gaza, and we're not just only going to remain in Gaza. We're going to expand our operations to Lebanon as well. This is what's happening. These are some of the Israeli attacks in the Beqa area, the Beqa Valley. Israel reportedly had over 600 strikes on Lebanon today. Not the same intensity that we had yesterday. Not the same intensity that we had yesterday. However, we had more attacks in Lebanon. And by the way, with Hezbollah's attacks today on Israel, approximately 400 missiles, they attacked very important warehouses of weapons when it comes to the IDF. They reached areas to the south of the city of Haifa. So that's becoming the norm now. They're telling Israel that's the norm. That's the day-to-day thing. You wanted this escalation, accept the fact that the range is getting longer now, and you're probably going to have to get rid of more settlers from North Israel. But again, Israel turns a blind eye, and they continue with their blindness and bloodlust and barbarism. Then we had this person, Amichai Shikli. Amichai Shikli is the Minister of Diaspora in Israel. He had this tweet today, translated to English on the right side here. Lebanon, even though it has a flag, and even though it has political institutions, does not meet the definition of a country. Ooh, news. In the absence of monopoly on the exercise of power, both internally and externally, the Lebanese government is not a sovereign entity. The border with Lebanon, which is mostly inhabited by a hostile Shiite population, and not a hostile Zionist population below them, is effectively controlled by the Hezbollah organization, which on October the 8th started a war against the State of Israel. The organization, for those who forgot, was born with the landing of the Revolutionary Guards officers in the Beqa at the end of the First Lebanon War, and to this day it serves as a de facto militia operating with Iranian funding and direction. In a broader view, both Syria and Iraq do not currently meet the definitions of a state in light of the fact that different militias, foreign armies, and local military forces control different areas in the aforementioned countries. Well, by that definition, you had Zionist militias that were prescribed as terrorist organizations by the British mandate in Palestine that handed them that state. How ironic. Controlling a state based on a squatting terrorist organization. Organizations. And you're saying that about Lebanon. The drawing lines of Sykes-Picot, and we'll get to that in a sec, which were based on the distribution of areas of influence and the resources between Great Britain and France, did not survive the test of time. The sectarian religious fault lines, the topographical route, and military power are the ones that shape the boundaries of truth between the different populations in the area. The current picture of reality, which led us to evacuate tens of thousands of residents from their homes for fear of both the organizations' declared operative plans, and on the bitter experience on the Shiva in October events, that means the 7th of October, requires us to recalculate course regarding the borderline with the entity that calls itself Lebanon. Listen to the arrogance. And he shared this map. This map, these are the current maps here. Well, this is the occupied Golan Heights. Well, Trump handed it to them or gave them legitimacy. But this is what Israel sees as its borders with Lebanon. This is the Sykes-Picot line, based on Sykes-Picot, the names of British and French at the time, who cut the influence between them after World War I, or World War II, in that time. So to him, this was the Sykes-Picot line, and this is what the border looks like now. Meaning, well, if we stretch it from here to there, we'll stretch it from here to up there. So what's happening exactly? Well, we have the Minister of Education, who should be enlightening people in Israel, yesterday saying we want to annihilate Lebanon will cease to exist. And now you have the Minister of Diaspora saying that it's basically not a state. Simple to them, you know. If you want to take any action against anyone, well, just doubt their legitimacy. And like we said all the time, it wasn't about any of these organizations. These organizations are used as fronts, as an excuse for their depravity and barbaric and neo-colonialist expansionist plans in the area that they commit through mass terror. And now they're admitting it. Now they are admitting it. So we have the Minister of Education, now the Minister of Diaspora, delegitimizing Lebanon, in effect, and Iraq and Syria too. And we have religious groups in Israel calling for settlements in South Lebanon. Why? Because to them they are biblical and important for the Jewish people. So they are preparing to carry out what they've carried out in Gaza, in effect. They're not stopping. We didn't have the same intensity that we had in Lebanon yesterday, but we had reports coming from European sources saying that the international, it's not the international community, the US and a couple of European countries who like to call themselves the international community very arrogantly, although they don't represent a mere 17% of the international community. They don't even represent their own populations, let alone the international community. giving Israel 1 to 2 weeks to get rid of Hezbollah, or try and see if this escalation will stop Hezbollah from being an active front within the supporting fronts against Israel. And if that doesn't work, Israel has been given a green light to start the occupation process, or at least the invasion process. Listen, they're not going to occupy Lebanon, like they will not occupy Gaza. At least this time they didn't say that we want to eliminate Hezbollah, right? They didn't make the same mistake they did with Hamas. Why a mistake? Because they did it before in 2008. We want to dismantle, we want to eliminate Hamas. And then all of a sudden, at the end of the war, oh no, we don't want to eliminate them. We just want to affect or, harm their military capabilities. And then it was the accomplishment at the end of the war. We targeted 3,000 missile warehouses and all of their excuses. Now, at least they're not saying we're going to destroy Hezbollah in Lebanon, but they are showing intent of occupation, delegitimizing Lebanon, saying they will cease to exist, committing this barbaric mass state-sponsored terror, state-activated terror yesterday, supported by the US and other countries in Lebanon, killing over 500 people, 570, in one day, and wounding over 1,800 men, women, children. What is that? And some mainstream media outlets are legitimizing it as if it's fine. Israel might have to conduct an operation. Joe Biden now is giving them we understand if they want to attack. If you want to understand if they attack, then understand the other people who want to resist. Simple. If you want to understand a genocidal terrorist entity committing all of these crimes ever since its establishment, but now, of course, it's on steroids, then expect what's coming for them. Now, with regards to the coming days, today, at least from the Israeli side, there was a reduction from the intensity that we saw yesterday. And with Hezbollah, they carried out calculated yet intense operations in Israel. Not saying it's a response. They haven't said it's a response against Israel. But not also saying that it's just the day-to-day thing. But from what it's looking like is the fact that it's basically just day-to-day responses. And they still haven't really done much when it comes to having a massive attack on Israel. Are they going to escalate? Or are they sending a message to Israel that we will not be dragged to Netanyahu's plans for an all-out war because this is what he wants? We don't know. But what we do know is we have an active state of war that Israel will most likely be increasing in the coming days. And these are the main things that I wanted to share with you. And let me open the space up for all of you, see if you have any comments or questions. And thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. IG to me, Stephen Burrows, MahmoodOD, Glenn, Huxley, Ian, Weniger, D-Love, Ilsa, Pehi, and Marine 212. Thank you so much for your supers. Let's see what you said. IG to me, what's left for the average person to do and help? Well, what you always do, activism, awareness, of course, this is our work really, just to counter the false narrative. This is an ongoing task, isn't it? Including everything else, and don't underestimate how effective that is. Because the propaganda and the lies haven't stopped, have they? Some people are legitimizing what Israel is doing, and it's very important to counter that, alongside all other types of activisms as well. And Muhammad saying, I love the new setup. Thank you for your efforts. Much appreciated, my friend. Thank you so much. Ian is saying, how do you, as a Palestinian, think the land invasion by Israel will actually benefit long-term Palestinian sovereignty. Well, listen, we need to understand what Israel is doing now. Israel is out of control. It's totally out of control. It's gone mental. It's careless. You know, some people talk about the Samson option. They're implementing the Samson option on their population. They're sending their troops to die as cannon fodder. They're killing their, what they call as hostages in Gaza, the prisoners of war. And they are annihilating Israel. If there are self-annihilation buttons, Benjamin Netanyahu is taking all of them for his own sake. How will it benefit the long-term Palestinian sovereignty? There is no Palestinian sovereignty, by the way. There has never been, following 1948, any Palestinian sovereignty. But what we're looking is a complete reshaping of the region, a complete reshape of the region. And you have a side that wants to eliminate everything that doesn't want to agree with it, which is Israel. It's like a nation of Ted Bundys. I'd be probably offending Ted Bundy if I say that. And you have on the opposite side people who want to live a normal life. But to the supremacist entitled entity, no, because why? They believe they're the chosen people of God, and everyone else are goyim, so they deserve the treatment of animals or less than that. And they're continuing. They're enabled by the United States. The military-industrial complex is happy. And innocent people are paying the price, however, still resisting. And I think what they've done is raise more awareness and brought them closer to their own demise. And this estimation that's coming from me is something that many Israelis who observe the situation, at least in the top levels of, or had senior positions in the security or intel establishment even, or previous heads of state, and some of the population believe. They know that it's going down the drain. D-Love is saying, thank you for your voice, pleasure. We are all being terrorized by an out-of-control state who does not value human life, equality, and freedom for all. That's so absolutely true. And they're trying to terrorize people from supporting a just cause by using these organizations that they label unjustifiably as terrorist organizations, telling you, oh no, these are the baddies. To give a depraved terrorist nation a right to commit terror, mass terror on people, and withdraw that right from the people who are being oppressed and terrorized. Typical. This is what the US has done, by the way, globally. It's not just Israel. Marine 2 and Elisa said, Elsa Pehi said, great work, Mahmoud, thank you so much. Kia Ora from Aotearoa, New Zealand. Welcome, thank you so much. Greetings to everyone in Aotearoa, New Zealand, and everyone else tuning in from all across the world. Marine 212, won't Dems suffer if Israel goes to war with Lebanon? The Dems, they don't care, the people in power, so long as they're getting the funding. These people battle over who supports Israel more, you know. Kamala Harris and Donald Trump, they might as well have had an MMA fight together against who supports, with regards to who supports Israel more. And give each other guillotine chokes, like, oh no, I support Israel more. Insanity. So they don't care, so long as they get the money. Diablos, would an attempt on Netanyahu directly have an impact on stopping this barbarism? Is a nuke on Lebanon beyond question for these delusional people? A nuke is not beyond anything for these delusional people. You're talking people who lost every aspect of their humanity. They are beyond any aspect of morality, humanity, virtue, nothing. They lost all of that. So they would do anything. What they're committing is barbarism, top level barbarism. Top-level depravity. So don't be surprised if they use tactical nuclear weapons. And an attempt on Netanyahu directly to have an impact on stopping this barbarism. Netanyahu did this to temporarily escape criticism. For example, protests against him now are a little bit less. he gained more support from people who oppose him. All of a sudden, Benny Gantz, who resigned from the war cabinet, is with him now. Oh no, I support you fully. Go and invade Lebanon. Do whatever you want to do. But that's all temporary. And Netanyahu always does these tricks, temporary, short-lived solutions to save himself. But any more, by the way, no, don't be surprised if you see any more bad scenes, because these people, like I said, they lost any aspect of humanity. They are totally depraved. You're talking about a nation that protects rapists. The man who raped a Palestinian prisoner, raped him, had to be hospitalized following from internal bleeding, was coming on Israeli mainstream media and people were clapping for him. That's Israel for you. Some people are saying, no, we need to add more to the death toll. Jalal as well, bro, what do you think about Erdogan's speech at the UN? I haven't heard all of it, to be fair. But what I can say about Erdogan's speeches in general, I think he made speeches that are very supportive for the Palestinian people, legitimizing the Palestinian resistance, and that's all good. But I think he made certain statements that were way above the actions of what they took as a Turkish state. We had, from back in 2023, hints that they will be participating militarily, and then saying, oh, it's a battle to protect us, and our army might join. But we haven't done that. So why have these statements? I do not understand when you're not planning to take action. You'd prefer for someone to say things and not let people expect too much. But the problem is, and again, I haven't heard the UN speech. Don't take it from me as a comment on the UN speech. No, I heard snippets of some of the UN speeches. One of them from the Emir of Qatar, who said that this war is either going to be ended with the elimination of the Palestinian people or the elimination of the occupation. This is increase in tone. Israel has shown a lot of hostility to Qatar, even though they've been trying their best to mediate and reach a deal. And Netanyahu doesn't like anyone who doesn't submit to his will when it comes to the talks and the ceasefire talks. No way as well. Thank you for your super, and then we'll go to everyone else. How much is Canada involved? If you know, most think none here. Thank you. Well, Canada took good positions when it comes to halting arms exports to Israel. I mean, it wasn't one of the big ones. The significant stuff comes from the United States. Even the UK, with their 30 licenses that they did not renew to Israel, that they suspected would be used against the Gazan population. All of that is shameful, by the way. Like, compare that to what they're doing with Russia, blocking them, banning them, not allowing anyone to talk or hear them on. But Israel, no, they can talk, and we can just ask, some of them. All of it is shameful. Western countries' governments are shameful when it comes to Israel. But Canada, well, at least they stopped all of the arms exports, which is something good. At least that. So when the British government did not approve 30 licenses, good, but continue. Don't approve everything else. Start taking off the legitimacy, right? Why are you still legitimizing a terrorist entity? So the main contributor in all of this is the United States administration, because they are the ones that Israel relies on heavily. And if by the way, if anyone has any comments or questions for me, if you wouldn't mind, please highlighting them with like a red point or something, so I can see them properly. Born of Silence. I told you that I liked your photo yesterday, right? I like it again. The Israeli army is anxiously following the arrival of about 40,000 people from Syria, Iraq, Yemen, and the Golan Heights, awaiting Nasrallah's call to fight. I'll tell people why I like that photo. This man is called Musa Sadr. He's a Lebanese man. Very humane approach he had. Even during the sectarian civil war, he was trying to bring people together in Lebanon. And unfortunately, he disappeared after he went to visit Libya. And he had a very positive effect on Lebanon and the Lebanese people. And with regards to your question, they know that people are waiting to fight and are awaiting Nasrallah's orders. I said before, if Nasrallah wants, he can bring 1 million people, not 40,000. The other day, one of the resistance movements in Iraq said, if we're just waiting and if you on one call, we'll bring 100,000 people. So don't be surprised if there are many people waiting. That would not be surprising. Not that Hezbollah needs manpower, by the way. And now Hezbollah, some of their forces in Syria reportedly went back to Lebanon, and you have other movements in Syria and other groups waiting to fight Israel. So all of that is on the table. The question is, will there be a political need or a political order to do that? It's all about the political order. And thank you again, my friend, for your question. Kate, next target, Jordan. Jordan has begged the USA to provide them Patriot systems during Iran battle drones. Now turned out Israel, not an Arab nation, will target them. Will they beg USA or seek Arab help? These Arab governments and regimes fail to understand time after time that no matter how much you try and please the people who helped you get there, and Israel, they don't care about you. They don't value you. They see you as below them. You're talking about people in these regimes and in the elite who view you as less than them. They view their populations as less than them. The Americans, when they invaded Iraq, they knew the death toll. They knew how many people would die day by day approximately, and said it's a fair trade. There was an interesting interview that I recommend if you would be able to find it online with Aaron Russo, who spoke about it. He passed away now, in detail. These people use their own people as cannon fodder, let alone people of Arab nations. They don't care about them. No matter how much you try and look, like you're good and you love Israel, and they don't care about you. And all of that shows now with the response of Israel now threatening Jordan, or at least some figures in them threatening Jordan. But again, he's building a wall. Is he building a wall? Is he building a wall? Because if he wants to go and attack Jordan, and Jordan, although they have a peace treaty with Israel, would only lift its policing on the borders and just allow people to go to Israel. Is he preparing for that moment? Probably. Probably. Gullyberg, Mahmoud, has the Zionist Navy played any part since yesterday? Not to my knowledge. Not to my knowledge, because they know that Hezbollah has either Yachunt or Yachunt similar land-to-sea missiles that they've shown us since the beginning. And don't forget, Hezbollah, they targeted a ship in 2006. The Secretary General of Hezbollah said Hassan Nasrallah was having a speech, and during his speech he said, look at the sea, we're targeting a ship now. And it was targeted, and over 70 of the Israeli Navy were killed. in that attack. That was recorded. So imagine now when they have more capabilities. Israel's main power comes through the Air Force. Through the Air Force and airstrikes. Not in the sea and not in the land. Israel has been reducing their ground forces number. Do you know that? Israel has been bringing people from Unit 8200 and from the Navy to join and training them on ground combat because they cannot make up the numbers. They're not a good army when it comes to ground attacks, and even their paratroopers, all of that, they're not that good. And they started to rely more and more on their Air Force and on AI and technology. The only thing they're good at is bullying and killing women and children in the West Bank, you know. They act like bullies with their guns against the civilians. That's what they're good at. But fighting man to man, we've seen images and videos of them running away if one fighter from Hamas or something comes to them. They're cowards. Violet is saying, thank you for your work, Violet, ongoing work. Saying, who's going to stop them and when before Greater Israel happens? Well, so far, the people who are opposing Israel, apart from Gaza, they, especially when you talk about Hezbollah and Iran, they are taking every measure possible to avoid an all-out war. Because don't forget, these people were not notified about the 7th of October attacks. But they responded to the Palestinian people and showed solidarity with them. But they weren't preparing for an all-out war. However, out of their genuine position of supporting the Palestinian people, they participated. But they did not want an all-out war. So far, they're trying to do everything to avoid it, but still give Israel a message that we will not stop the support because this support was initiated just for you to stop the war in Gaza. We're not declaring war against you. But Israel, because it was shocked on the 7th of October, doesn't want to be shocked again. So what they're doing now is going all out on everyone so that they avoid as much as possible the possibility of another massive attack coming on them at the scale of 7th of October, because 7th of October was the biggest attack in Israel's history. Surprisingly, by the Hamas fighters who came from Gaza. Well, not surprisingly in many ways. Surprisingly in the sense of the impact on Israel, but not surprisingly from a sense of their continued oppression. These people, firstly, 72% of them are refugees from what now is called Israel, that Israel does not allow them to go back or give them equal rights or return to their homes that they were expelled from. That's before the 7th of October. 17 years of blockade, so anyone under the age of 17 knows nothing but Gaza. Half of the population was relying, over half, on foreign aid. A large percentage of homes were already not safe to live in. High levels of unemployment. No hope for the future because Israel is suffocating them. An open-air prison. And then they get surprised when Hamas went and attacked them on the 7th of October. And they cry now, they tell you, remember the 7th of October. What's 7th of October? They went, they attacked your army. This is what they like to cover up. They dismantled the Gaza division within a matter of 2.5 hours, a massive embarrassment. They liberated territories. They kidnapped civilians. But they told you, we are willing to start negotiating now and stop all of this attack. And we carried out this attack because we tried to negotiate with you before to have a prisoner exchange, because don't forget, Israel already had 4 Israelis in Gaza since 2014. And Hamas constantly told them, let's have a prisoner exchange deal. Many people in Israel, the 6,000 at the time, before 7th of October, now over 20,000. Many of them administrative detention in prison in Israel, kidnapped, literally. They didn't want to listen. But they used that event on the 7th of October with many signals that they potentially had prior knowledge based on many moves that they've done, suspicious stock movements in Israel that made some banks over 600 million, Bank Leumi in Israel. All of a sudden, 2 weeks in the war, they are handing out gas exploration contracts and immediately trying to expel the population. Said we'll use it to ethnically cleanse Gaza, resettle, balance the demographics, protect ourselves demographically, because Israel always worries about the demographics. Between the Jordan River to the sea, between the river to the sea, you've had a Palestinian majority since 2015. Now it's far bigger. So to them, that's a problem. And they said, we will expel the Palestinian people, and then we'll go to Lebanon, then we'll go with the rest of the Palestinians, then we'll potentially expand or whatever. But now it's like all out. So who's going to stop them and when? I think when the others realize or see that Israel is definitely not backing down. And let me tell you something, Israel is not backing down. Israel is only expanding. Israel's foot is on the pedal. They have the blessings of their main ally, the United States, and some other countries too, to expand. And they're not going to back down. I see no event where Israel is going to back down. Israel is on a suicidal mission. They had many opportunities to have a ceasefire, to have a deal. The United States gave them very, very, tempting agreements with Saudi Arabia in return for a Palestinian state. I don't know what kind of Palestinian state that would be, by the way, what kind of sovereignty it would have. But anyway, they refused everything. And Netanyahu's continuing, and he's going on Lebanon, another sudden occupation of Lebanon. They're threatening Syria. They're delegitimizing threatening Jordan, delegitimizing the Syrian state and Iraq. Because according to this minister who we quoted before, they have Iranian militias. Dude, you built your state on militias. Irgun, Haganah, Etzel. Terrorist militias that killed innocent people. Palestinians, other nationalities, British mandate troops, the country that started this mess. They killed them. They were killing everyone. And then they established a state. I know all of a sudden they're recognized and this and that. When the opponents realize that this country is on a mission, or when they see actions that to them are the red line, because so far, to be honest with you, I don't know what the red lines are for the people who are fighting Israel. I don't know what the red lines are for Hezbollah, for example. I don't know what the red lines are for Iran. There's an argument that the red lines would be, for example, attacking strategic places, attacking the airport, attacking power grids, attacking very densely populated areas or more densely populated areas. But again, they killed over 570 yesterday. And from Iran's perspective, they killed a man in your country who had diplomatic immunity in Tehran, and they haven't responded yet. The Iranian president said, the Americans told us, we gave an opportunity. He was quoted to be saying, I think it was in the UN, that within a week, ceasefire is not right, don't respond, let's reach a ceasefire. He said, but that didn't happen. Of course, they didn't say that we're not responding. They said, we will respond in the time suitable for us and the right time in the right place. But that hasn't happened yet. Do they have red lines that we don't know? Are they strategic locations more than something else? Or are they genuinely not prepared for the bigger battle when it comes to Israel? There are many questions. But what we are seeing is calculated responses that are there, escalating when necessary, but calculated to a level where they are not seen to be asking or calling for an all-out war. So we haven't seen a blunt, massive attack that is like, something very big. Is that because of the US presence in the region as well, and they know their vulnerabilities? Are they waiting on more types of self-defense, air defense, or some? Could be lots of things. But what's for sure, Israel's not taking its foot down. They're continuing. And it's going to get uglier, in my opinion. And thank you, Violet. Many comments. Apologies if I take a bit of time to reach them because of the live stream. Okay. Dr. X, thank you so much for that. He said, hi, brother. Brazil raised its voice against the non-representative system on UN. Our president all for a ceasefire. Yes, the Brazil, and thank you, my friend. Brazil, we had good statements from Brazil. Don't forget the initial ceasefire calls as well. If people listened to Brazil, Russia, and China back in October and actually called for at least called for a ceasefire, their hands wouldn't be filled with as much blood as they are now. Because the US hands are filled with blood, of course. The UK, France, Germany, all of these countries that vetoed the call for a ceasefire immediately, they have blood on their hands. And it was China and Russia and Brazil who called for a ceasefire. And they didn't listen to them. They were backing Israel fully. They were telling them, yes, of course. Yeah, blockade, no problem. Cut the water off. Khadija Salam Mahmoud, is it true about Sinwar? No. Sinwar is alive and fine. Nothing happened to him. Israel just likes to pop up these... I mean, you're talking about a country based on lies. You have to kind of really dig to see what's true from false when they talk. So, no, that's not true. Like their lie about Adif too. They had that, but they had that attack as an excuse to commit a massacre because it was during a sensitive period in the ceasefire talks. And thank you for that, Fatima. And Herc Owen, thank you so much for your super, much appreciated, and for your comment. Creative username said, what do you think about Norman Finkelstein saying Gaza is destroyed and Israel won? I didn't hear that from him. If he said that, well, Gaza is destroyed, that's true. Israel won, of course, I disagree with that. Israel's failing. Israel's failing on every single level. Israel's failing militarily, politically, on the global scene, on the awareness, with their PR. They're losing everything. And they will not be achieving their objectives. They will not be achieving their objectives in Gaza. They will not be achieving their objectives in Lebanon. Lisa, Israel wants Gaza's gas and create greater Israel invading their neighbor lands. Is there something else than their Hell's agenda? Full control, stronghold of the resources, the natural gas, of course, the political will. Israel is the last colony in the region. They are all of the awful representations of colonialism. That's why they're still supported by all of these ex-colonies. Because think about who supports Israel. All of them, colonial forces with histories of mass genocide, mass killing, enslavement. Look at their history. Just read the past 100 years if you don't want to dig past that, even though you should, especially when it comes to the United States. Hundreds of millions they killed. Preston, thank you so much. All the best from Country Leitrim, Ireland. Peace, my friend, and thank you so much for that, and greetings to all of our viewers from Ireland. Okay. Jacob Ismail, brother, please can you shout out for the protest on Thursday, London, 6 p.m. Downing Street. Here you go. And every protest supporting Palestine and Lebanon. And Cam, thank you so much for this. Okay. Where have we reached? And thank you everyone for your participation, by the way. Sorry, I'm unable to, of course, reach all of the comments. Live stream usually will miss some of the comments. Okay, well, the last one, we'll take it from perceived reality. Do you think Israel will invade Lebanon with ground forces? We remember what happened in 2006. Well, Israel is acting in a completely insane manner now. Israel previously, like when it comes to Gaza and when it comes to the kidnapping of Israelis, they previously used to have some sort of regard for Israeli life. They no longer do at all. They're killing their own people blatantly killing the Israeli prisoners in Gaza, blatantly targeting them, sending their troops to die without adequate training, sending people for death. No one in Israel has been trained on destroyed urban combat, yet they're sending them to fight in destroyed urban warfare. They have been trained on urban warfare, some of them at least, to an extent, right? Not enough to what they want to do and accomplish and achieve in Gaza. But they didn't train anyone on destroyed warfare, but they destroyed Gaza and sent them to die, basically, because it's so difficult. And they're still there. They don't reach an agreement. They're going all out on everyone. They're going to on Lebanon, barbarism, mass state terror. And then they're talking about occupation. Although they have, there's a track record of failure. It's not like there's not. The people in the Israeli army know if they go to Lebanon, they're back in coffins. They know that. Anyone with an ounce of brain, that's why they usually send the most imbecile out of them, the most brainwashed, the most racist, right? The ones with the most extreme ideology to go there and fight. Anyone with an ounce of brain knows you go to Lebanon, you die. If that's what happened to you in Gaza, at least 20,000 Israeli troops died in Gaza. At least, in my opinion. They said 30,000 were disabled. 30,000 are disabled. At least 60,000 are wounded. If 60,000 are wounded, at least 20,000 are killed. That's the urban warfare ratio. That's being conservative because it's what? It's destroyed urban warfare. Let alone the fact that they once said we have 100,000 wounded. So now they're going to go to Lebanon. Of course, remember 2006, they were embarrassed. Israeli troops who used to come back from Lebanon used to say all of the stories. Some of them thought they used to fight demons. People used to come out from the ground and fighting them as a tree, wearing so much camouflage, coming back in bits and pieces. The tank massacres that happened. Hezbollah took down 36 tanks in one day during invasion of one of their valleys. We'll wrap it up there with the perceived reality question. Thank you so much for that. Thank you everyone else who participated. Much appreciated. Apologies again if I missed some of your comments. Usually with some of them, we'll miss some of them with the live stream. But I appreciate your support and contribution and input, and I value it highly. Thank you so much for everyone who sent supers, Cam, Preston, Ferguson, Herc, Owen, Dr. X, No Way, Jalal Hassan, Siraj, Diablos, Marine 212, Ailsa, Pehi, D-Love, Ian Weniger, Glenn Huxley, Muhammad Ode, Stephen Burrows, and IG2Me. Much appreciated, guys. I will hopefully be with you tomorrow with either a video or a live stream, or I'll have part of the live stream as a video too, for those of you who only prefer videos. Apart from that, stay blessed, take care, enjoy the rest of your evening or day or night, depending on where you are. Have a cup of tea or coffee or something, decaf if you don't have it caffeinated, and I will see you soon in the next video. Stay blessed and peace, everyone.